Okay, well, welcome everybody. This is Ken Vanderdoos, and we're here with Alex Welling from MegaStar Advisors. He is the man that heads up the department there and understands very well how the preset appointments work. He's going to give us some a little update and how the preset appointments can make your world a little better, and you can write a lot of business this year. Uh,
A lot of business this year.
we all want to write a lot of business this year. So,
Right.
Alex, I'm going to go ahead and let you introduce yourself, and maybe we can, give us a little background, and then we can maybe do a little Q&A after that. So,
Sure. Yeah. So I am the chief sales officer at MegaStar, and where I kind of came up from was the ground grassroots of this federal program. When I started here about 10 years ago, we were just starting to dabble into the federal. It was really an idea to work with federal employees, that it might be a good marketplace. But so over the years, I've had a lot of different roles, all in the development of this program that's kind of come out of the ashes of all the failures and ups and downs that we've had over the years. But all those failures have been learning lessons and helped us design the program we have today. And at this point, FIBA, the federal company that we've created, this educational brand, has become one of the largest third-party vendors for benefit education in the government's world of vendorship. And so we take a lot of pride in that. We have a ton of federal employees that use our services. We generate thousands of these appointments each and every month that you're going to be working. They have been earned. The respect that we've generated has been earned over many, many years. And so I've played a role in that. It's certainly not all me or anything. There's been a lot of helping hands along the way, a lot of lessons learned from advisors like yourselves in the field. But we've accumulated that knowledge under one kind of vision, and that is FIBA. And so I'll walk you through, basically, I think the most important thing if you're going to have success in these appointments is understanding where the appointments come from, how we get them here. And so I'm going to walk you through the journey of the federal employee, how they find us, kind of what makes us different, who you are in that role. And I find if you know that inside and out, you'll be set up for a much greater success rate than, say, if you have kind of a lackluster understanding of who you are in this grand vision or grand role. So, any questions from me before I get going? Or the only thing I might request from you, Ken, is if I could have screen sharing abilities. I don't think I have them yet.
Let me do that now.
Yeah, Alex, you're describing your background and the successes and failures. I mean, all you have to do is take your FIBA out and put our name in, because our history of 30 years is the same path.
Yep.
And we here today, and in our brand new relationship with you, consider this the threshold of our new success, because we've been hitting obstacles, and we've been hitting glass ceilings, but we have great hope that this will allow us to now get through and get to where we have always needed to be.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I think, oftentimes groups like yourself come to us at these same kind of moments. And my promise to you guys is not that we won't find other glass ceilings. I think we very much will. That'd be an ignorant promise, or it's like almost like golf. If anybody's played golf before, it has a way of humbling you, where no golfer that's any good ever admits that they're ever any good, because they know they're so much better they could be. It's the same kind of thing here. There will be glass ceilings that we'll hit together as we grow together, but our promise to everyone is that we'll always work with you to find a solution, and we'll be resilient in finding a good solution to help you grow the business and get to those levels that you want to be at. So that's always our promise to everyone. Now, I think I can share my screen now. So I'm going to walk you through kind of FIBA, and I'll start with the history of FIBA, and I'm going to try and keep this as short as I possibly can. But FIBA is an educational company. And back when we first started, and Ken, George, you guys can, attest to this, used to be that there'd be maybe like an agency head that might let you on base or on facility way back when, and you could come in and do talks, but it was not a new thing when we were getting into it that potentially you as an advisor could go in and work with a federal agency of some kind with some sort of like educational vendor and educational partner, but you couldn't say a word as an advisor. And so I would go out with our agent in the field, and we would sit in the back of this room, and we'd have some educator that we hired, a third-party educator that would sit in the room, and they'd do all the talking, and they might throw us a bone every once in a while, and we'd raise our hand and answer it. But mostly that was it. We got no credibility. And it was, basically because the government didn't trust us as financial advisors to give the presentation, and they didn't want the liability of us being wrong. They wanted somebody that was, had no real horse in the race, as it were, no biases towards one thing or another. And so it was this kind of like cat and mouse game that we played for a really long time. And MegaStar started that way. FIBA started that way, where we would go out, do workshops live in person, and we would bring an advisor along. They'd sit in the back of the room. We just basically mimic the models that were out there until finally we just got kind of sick of waiting around doing workshops at the beck and call of the agency. And so we started to think of a different way, and we started to solicit the agencies to say, hey, look, we'll come in, we'll do a presentation. We won't have an advisor with us at all. We'll just come in and do a class for free. Our only ask of you as an agency, so if it's a VA hospital, sometimes it was IRS or Security Administration, whatever it might have been at the time, we would come out and give a presentation just as educators. And we wouldn't even bring the financial advisor with us. And we say, our only ask is that if you like our stuff, if you want us to, if you see the value in it, that we can solicit your audience to subscribe to our content. And so what we ended up doing was basically saying, hey, look, our ask is not a financial one. It's a we want to gain traction and credibility. We want to build our subscribership. And the agencies, they loved it. They're like, wow, we get a free education. We don't have to come out of budget to pay for it. Our employees will get a good education on their benefits. And the only thing that they have to do is subscribe if they want to at the end of the event. And we knew as educators that they were going to subscribe because, basically it's a no pain type of thing to do. And so we did that for many years, 2-3 years. We would go out, do these workshops. We wouldn't have an advisor with us. We'd just build the subscribership up. And once we had enough subscribers in an area, we would go back and have the advisor do workshops live in that area. And we would just solicit our subscribers. Because here's what we learned and what we figured out way back when is we can't solicit without the government's permission an event on property, but we can solicit an event to government employees as a third-party vendor for an event off property. So we could send an email out to all the federal employees that are subscribed to us and say, hey, we're going to do a workshop right outside at the hotel conference room across the street. Come see us tonight at 6 p.m. right when you get off shift. And people would come do that. And what we ended up doing in that scenario was take control back over the marketing process. The prior model, all we were doing was basically waiting for the agencies to let us on base. And so there's no way to run a business. We were at the beck and call of the agency. And so when we shifted to that model, we realized, okay, now we can really build and scale an advisor business because we could get prospects in a room whenever we wanted to. And so it became this kind of game where we needed to build that subscribership up as big as we possibly could. And we did that for many years, up until about 2020. By 2020, we were doing workshops in every state, every month, basically. And so we had over 1 million subscribers. They were, subscribers that did it organically, and they were subscribers that agencies would just give us their data. They would just say, hey, you know what? These are our people. We don't want to have to put on an event. Here's their information. Hopefully they'll subscribe. You feel free to email them if you want. And so the database grew and it grew and it grew and it grew. And 2020 happened and we couldn't do the live workshops anymore. And we said, uh-oh. And so we started to say, well, how do we do this then? And so we kind of played with the idea of doing virtual appointments, and carriers were finally playing along. So we said, okay, what if we just solicited our subscribership? Because, our subscribership, these are our customers. So we can solicit them basically whatever they want at this point. And so we solicited them an opportunity to sit down with our experts and have a benefit consultation. And so we send out emails multiple times a week to the subscribers. Sometimes those emails to the subscribers are just free content, information about TSP, information about FEGLI, whatever it might be. But at least once a week, if not twice a week, it's a solicitation for them to book an appointment with one of our experts. And if you have questions, if you're close to retirement, if you have a specific question or general knowledge, you just want some general information about your benefits, whatever it be, go ahead, click this link in this email and schedule a time to work with one of our folks. And so when they click the link, they get brought to a page like this, and they'll book an appointment with one of our federal retirement consultants. Basically, our pledge to federal employees is if you book an appointment with us, you're going to sit down with somebody that has been background checked, knows these benefits inside and out, has a rich history of retirement planning, and knows how to structure a proper retirement that will last you a lifetime. And you're going to walk away with answers to your questions, unlike when you potentially call your Office of Personnel Management or call the TSP hotline and you get put on hold or don't get a direct answer, or you certainly won't ever get advice from any of those sources. But when you leave an appointment with an FRC, you will know what you need to know about your benefit and what's best for you in your situation. So that's what they're booking. They're booking an appointment with an expert. What they might not remember is the acronym FRC. So they might not know what an FRC is, right? That's a new acronym to them. It might not be memorized by them. And they might not remember FIBA, the brand. So when they book an appointment, I want you to keep in mind and say, hey, I'm your retirement consultant, your federal retirement consultant. Spell it out. Don't just say FRC. Say federal retirement consultant. And you may have had a benefit question or something that I'm here to answer for you. Is there anything particularly that I can help you with? That's the kind of start to the appointment. Don't need to go into your background. Don't need to go into who you are, how you came to be, or anything like that. That's already been propositioned to them. That's why they booked this appointment. If you go to a doctor, is the best analogy I can make. Go to a doctor. They don't sit there and tell you where they went to med school and everything before they start asking you questions about what brought you in today. It's already implied that you have the knowledge and ability to talk about whatever they might have as far as questions. And so just get right into it in that first appointment. But when you walk into a first appointment, you'll have a good chunk of information on them as well. So when they book it, let's say they want a 9 a.m. appointment, they're going to have to answer a bunch of questions. Who they are and their contact information and everything. But then they're also going to have to tell us, how they want to get contacted for confirmation, a phone or an email. Their birth year, so we'll know how old they are. So let's say, 1960 or something. And we'll know if they're married. We'll know how many years as a federal employee they are. So if they're, 20, 30 years, if they're eligible for a full retirement, we'll get that idea. We'll know the agency or something. And then finally, what options they might have with regard to FEGLI. TSP, we don't get into specifics with TSP, so keep that in mind. We want to keep it bracketed, so we have a general idea if they have a balance in their TSP account, but we don't want to get so particular to scare them off. Okay, so we just want to kind of see if this is a qualified candidate for any sort of actual planning. And you'll see folks will generally, put in roughly what they have. I would take it with a grain of salt. That's always my advice. Take it with a grain of salt. Inspect what you expect, and you will, get a better answer for sure. And then you find other outside account values. What I find sometimes is people include their TSP in their other account values, so keep that in mind as well. Sometimes it is legitimate outside accounts, spousal assets, former 401ks, whatever it might be. But a good chunk of the time, it's just their TSP. And they thought maybe that meant all of their assets combined. Anyway, when they book the appointment, it'll go through and you'll get a confirmation that, hey, you got an appointment on this day at this time. And it will, be up to you, of course, to confirm it. You can have our concierge team help you with that if you want. But you will confirm this appointment at that point. My suggestion is reach out to them as soon as you get it. Second, you get that appointment. Hey, I'm so-and-so. I'm your federal retirement consultant. Looking forward to chatting with you on Thursday at 9 a.m. If you have any questions in the meantime, let me know. I'll chat with you then. The day before, I'll message them again. Hey, it's Al, your FRC, just checking in with you again. Looking forward to chatting with you tomorrow. If you have anything particular, jot it down. That way we remember it. We can keep this meeting nice, short, and concise. The implication here is not that they're about to go on some hour-long, super in-depth retirement planning appointment. The implication of them booking this appointment is to sometimes just get a benefit question answered. It is sometimes to get some advice on where to invest their TSP. Sometimes is, can I retire? What's the best day to retire? Sometimes it's really specific. It's not about retirement planning. Your job as an FRC is to help them understand that, look, you might have a specific question, but the answer to that depends on a number of other things. Let me get to know your situation. And what you'll find if you do that is that they don't have the answers to the questions. So for example, you might have somebody that's like, hey, I want to know how to invest my TSP. Where should I put my money within TSP? It might be a 59-and-a-half-year-old that wants to retire in a few years, whatever. But they don't realize that's a loaded question, right? When are you looking to retire? Well, I'm looking to retire in a few years. Okay, well, what are your goals in retirement? How much are you going to get from your pension? How much do you have in other spousal assets? Because all of these things are going to dictate to us how aggressive we should be in our TSP investments, maybe how safe we should be. Potentially, if they don't have tax scenarios, maybe it's nothing about the investment. Potentially, it's just about, figuring out a tax-free method for some tax-free income. How much income do you need in retirement? Is this just going to be for a safety net? All those things. And so the job of the first appointment with this federal employee is to take that molehill and make a mountain out of it, right? They don't realize that it is a mountain. I think a lot of federal employees, and you guys know this, I don't need to tell you this, they don't know enough to know they don't know. They don't know enough to know they don't know. They think they took this job because they're going to get this great retirement benefit package, and all they need to do is press play on that sucker and it'll play. But that's not true. What really needs to happen is a good amount of planning and process. They do have a good retirement package. It just needs to be executed well for it to indeed be that. So keep that in mind in this appointment. I see a lot of folks start working these appointments and they say, well, the guy who just wanted TSP advice, man, it was a waste of time. It's like, no, that's not a waste of time unless you make it a waste of time. Were they age eligible? Did they have money in their TSP? Did they have outside assets? If the answer is yes to those questions, then there's an opportunity there, and it's your job as the federal retirement consultant to now build that mountain out of that molehill. Does that make sense, everyone? Is that pretty much true to everything you guys seen so far? Yeah. So anyway, they're going to book that appointment on that premise. And you'll get an email like this. Let me pull this up here. You'll get an email that looks kind of like this. Denise Sanchez has booked an appointment. Her birth year is 1962. She's in this Arvada, Colorado, whatever. She works for the USDA, and this is a $500,000 TSP, so to speak.
I noticed that I got one the other day that had 49999. I thought, Wow, that's pretty specific, but it's a category, right?
It's a category, and they default to that when they put 500,000 plus on it. I don't know why it doesn't just come over as 500,000 plus, but whatever. Yeah. So the idea is, you want some of this information. This is great. I use this information, just, obviously to prioritize appointments and, know where the real opportunities might lie. But I take everything with a grain of salt and I use it if I need it. So for instance, I'll have times where people get on these appointments with me and I'll say, hey, I'm Al, I'm your federal retirement consultant. What's going on? The guy's like, well, honestly, I don't even remember why I booked this. And so I'll use this information to kind of jog their memory. Well, it looks like you're born 1962, and I mean, you've been working for the VA for the USDA for a while. Are you looking to retire here soon, or did you have some TSP questions as far as how to invest it? What's going on? And generally, as I kind of disclose that I know about them, I know who they are, they put this request in, not me. They start to remember, oh, yeah, no, I did book this. You're right. I had a question about how to do my TSP. Or, yeah, I am looking to retire in a few years. Or, yeah, I have a pension question. And so that's what this is, take it with a grain of salt type advice, but it is good to validate yourself that you're not just some guy that's calling them randomly. From there, I will take and I will go through what I call the 7 key questions with them. The 7 key questions are basically stuff that we'll already have a lot of information on, but I want specifically their TSP amount. I want to know how much they're contributing to the TSP. I want to know their age, their spouse's age, if they have it. So I want to know age. I want to know their annual salary. I want to know when they started for the government. I want to know when they want to retire. And I roughly want to know what their FEGLI coverage is. So if they said, hey, I have basic, option A, option B, option C. Okay, great. How many multiples of option B, stuff like that. So you keep that in the back of your mind. We have a worksheet. I'll make sure you guys have a copy of that. It's the 7 key questions of the first appointment. That's really all you're looking to do. At least that's all I look to do in the first appointment, is just kind of build that up and work towards a benefit analysis. What I find is, they come with that small question. Yeah, I just had a quick question about how I'm going to allocate my TSP. Okay, fine. I build the mountain out of it. Well, it's really going to depend on a number of different factors. Have you gotten, do you know how much income you're going to need? Do you know how much income you're going to get? Have you done a pension analysis yet? They're like, no. Okay, well, all right. Well, let's start there. Let's get you a benefit analysis. Doesn't cost you anything. I'm going to grab a couple pieces of information from you. It's something that we do for every federal employee that books one of these appointments. I'll run an analysis. It'll tell us kind of what your pension's going to look like. It'll tell us kind of what your TSP might look like if markets continue the way they are going. And it'll tell you what's going to happen with FEGLI. And what you can do with that from there is you'll get a good idea of what you have. And you can kind of decide if you feel like that's enough. Depending on your decision there, I can give you some advice, some parting wisdoms on what to do with your TSP. You see, the implication there is one more call and we're probably done, unless there's a problem. If there's a problem, then potentially I'll need to give you some advice, but odds are it'll probably be nothing. I give you some parting wisdoms. You'll never see my face again. And so what I end up doing in that first appointment, I build up the value. I get the 7 pieces of information I need. And then I'll book my next appointment to come back generally about 24 to 48 hours after that. I like to try and keep it as quick and tight to that first appointment as possible, because I don't want to have to repeat myself. I don't want to have to remind them of what we did. I don't want them to ghost me. And so I'm just looking for 5 minutes, really, the next day. I'll turn 5 minutes into a half hour. Obviously, I might not say I only need 5 minutes, but I'll say, hey, George, I don't know. Do you have a few minutes tomorrow where we can go over this benefit analysis? And you'll be like, yeah, I've got a few. Okay, so I'll come back. Let's book tomorrow, like lunchtime or something like that. I'll walk you through the analysis, give you some parting wisdoms, and I'll send you on your way. Does that work for you? Yeah, that works great. And when I come back, I'm going to show them their analysis. And let me show you this. Boom. And so this is just an example of one of the analyses. And I'll walk them through and I'll show you, I'll write on it and I'll walk them. I'll do it through Zoom, hopefully. If they can't do a Zoom, I'll do it right over the phone. I'll send it to them once I get them on the phone. I don't send it to them until I get them on the phone. You will not get the benefit analysis without me giving it to you. That's a compliance issue. I can't just hand out reports and not explain what is the numbers mean on the report. That would be an issue. So don't send it to them unless you get them on. But I'll walk them through. If I can do a Zoom, I'd love to do a Zoom. Gives me some FaceTime with them, and I can really draw and show them exactly what I'm talking about when I'm talking about it. And I can outline exactly the costs associated with this thing. I don't need to explain the benefits to you guys. You guys know that stuff. But I'll walk them through the report, and I'll show them, all the different things that they were concerned about. And I'll outline, okay, this is what would happen if you waited a few years. And, obviously you get this right now, but if you waited to that target retirement, is this worth it to keep working these years? Who knows? And then what do you want to do with your FEGLI? At this point, it's going to be about $400 to keep this basic benefit. Is that worth it when you consider your spousal continuance policy is going to cost you $626 a month? I mean, which is worth it? It's both kind of life insurance, blah, blah, blah. So I go through my kind of whole pitch of just creating confusion in that second appointment. And as you go along, you guys know this, as you go along in that second appointment, when you go over the benefit analysis, you're going to get a lot of like, oh no, I didn't know that answers, or yeah, I haven't really thought that through yet, or oh, I don't really think about it. At some point, you're going to have enough of those no's kind of where you can kind of make a statement like, hey, look, let me ask you something. Do you have somebody that you can talk to that can help you with this, that knows these benefits inside and out? And it's either going to be like, well, yeah, that's you. Or two, it's going to be like, oh, I don't have that. They might say, don't say, yeah, do you have a financial advisor you can talk to? That's not really what we're wondering. We want to know, do you have somebody that knows these benefits inside and out that you can talk to about this? And they'll say, yeah, that's you. Or they'll say, no, I don't. I say, you need to. You got to.
And sometimes the answer is the guy in the next cubicle who's been around for 30 years and thinks
yeah. All too often, it's that guy. It's the water cooler guy.
Yeah.
And so you end up in a scenario where it's like, yeah, you insert yourself there. You need to have somebody for the reasons you just said. You don't have a plan. You're 5 years out from retirement. You're a few years out from retirement. There's a lot of little nuances that you can see from this scenario that you need to address. And you just don't want to leave dollars on the table that you worked for, right? And so what our firm does, and I kind of make my pitch on what we do, how we do it, what they can expect from it, how they're going to benefit from it, and the costs associated with it. And if you'd like, I can certainly set that up. Now, we don't have any costs associated with our planning process, but if you did, then you certainly would outline it at that point. And I book my next appointment for 1 week later, hopefully around the same time frame. I book it 1 week later, but I'm not going to go a week without contacting them. This is a really important part here. If I don't talk to them again from this appointment, let's say they're excited, I'll do some fact finding too at the end, by the way. So if they say, yeah, I'd like your help, then I'll say, okay, great. Tell me about your situation. What does your spouse do? How much assets do they have? Do you have any other accounts? Give me all that statements to anything that you have. Because at that point, they've kind of hired me as a retirement planner. I've made the shift from benefit consultant to retirement planner. And so now I'm here to help them with their retirement plan. So these are all the things. This is where I'll first start to ask for physical documents. I give them some homework to do. And so at that third appointment, when we come back, I'm going to give them I'm going to kind of say what I found in my research and what I suggest as a strategy to help them potentially survive their retirement and have the retirement of their dreams. But between that second and third appointment, that week, I'm going to hit them 2 times. All right. I'm going to, have like a kind of what I call pulse checks. Hey, I want them to know that I'm working. I want them to know that I'm doing everything that I promised I would do. Because it creates a subconscious feel with the client where they feel like, man, this guy's really working hard for me. I don't want to just ghost him and not show up or not hear him out. And if they want to get off the bus, they'll tell you at that point, we thought about it. We don't want to do it. And I don't waste my time. But most of the time, they're just happy that you're working for it. So I'll give you an example of like a pulse check. Let's say I have an appointment today. This is my second appointment with the guy, and they want to hire me on to help put a plan together for them. Great. All right. So I'll book my appointment for next Thursday. Tomorrow, I might call them and say, hey, I sent over that expense plan. I got that over. Just like I said yesterday, I just need some documents. If you could send those over. Now, I had one quick other question. You mentioned this in the call yesterday. Did you have, could you clarify something for me? I might already know the answer to the question. I might remember it just fine, but it's just a touch. Oh, yeah, no, yeah, we did have that brokerage account. It was with Merrill. Yeah, yeah. I'll get you those statements. I'm excited about it. Great, cool. I'll see you Monday, or I'll talk to you next week. Then on like Tuesday, the next week, I will, well, no, what did I say? Thursday was going to be the follow-up appointment. Wednesday, the next week, I'll send them the day, a day before kind of confirmation and say, hey, I'm looking forward to chatting with you tomorrow. I just had a real quick thing. My team was saying this about your plan. We've got a lot of good stuff to go over tomorrow. I'll tell you, I'm very excited about our meeting now, but let me just say this. You mentioned that safety was your biggest concern, right? Like you kind of mentioned that to us, right? Like, so safety was your most important, but you also wanted to keep up with inflation. Is that right? So whatever I kind of think my sales strategy is, I'm just going to confirm it the day before. Little secret I learned from one of our top producers. He goes in for his confirmation calls. He doesn't have his assistant do it. He does it. And he kind of verifies the day before the things that he's going to do in the closing strategy. So if he wants to sell a accumulation-based annuity or an income-based annuity, he'll confirm before. He'll say something like, hey, just so you know, I had a quick conversation and my assistant or my team was telling me this thing, but I mentioned to them that your big concern was income, right? And I didn't mishear anything, right? Income was your biggest concern, right? And then number two, you were a little worried about not having enough to leave off to the kids. Is that right? Okay, great. Fantastic. All right, great. I just wanted to make sure of that before tomorrow's appointment. I'm looking forward to chatting with you. I'll see you then. And I'll come back in that third appointment on the next day, and you'll see it changes I want to think about it. They're gone. They're out of excuses because what's happened all too often. I'll have people before I did this come to me and say, well, income's nice, but I just don't know if that's our concern. If I've confirmed the day before that was their concern, what's changed in the last 24 or 12 hours or whatever it is? Nothing. And they'll look kind of foolish if they try to use that. So we take that objection off the field altogether. And so it ends up in this place where it's like, I'll go down the path and I say, Kathy, you told me yesterday that income was your biggest thing. And I was glad to hear that because that's really where we thought the same, we were solving for that problem. So what I'm going to show you today is X, Y, and Z, and the reasons we did that is to solve your main need, which was income, right? You wanted more guaranteed income, so on and so forth. And you move through it at the end and boom, we start moving towards our presentation close. And the closing appointments are a little dependent on circumstance, of course, right? So if they need income, it's that. If it's accumulation, it's that, whatever. And from there, you guys have a great planning strategy. You guys have mastered the closing appointment at that point. It's not, I just kind of want to give you a walkthrough of what we do, how it's been real successful, what I've seen and learned from other producers in the business at this point on working these appointments. Big summary of everything. First appointment, try and keep it short. 15, 20 minutes is all you need for that thing. It's supposed to be casual. It's not supposed to be invasive. It's supposed to be just, sometimes it's just a quick question they have, but your job is to take that molehill and make a mountain out of it. Generally over the phone. Doesn't need to be a Zoom. Second appointment, Zoom optional. Book yourself, you don't need to suggest that you need an hour. But again, keep it to the point where it's like 24 or 48 hours after the first appointment. If it's a Saturday, maybe you book it for Monday or Tuesday. And you're not trying to have an hour long booked, but you're trying to suggest that, hey, do you have some time on Monday? If it's Thursday, I'd be like, do you have a quick time tomorrow on Friday just to walk through this report? I don't know, 15, 20 minutes is probably all we need. But, if it goes longer, if you have questions or something like that, I'm there to answer them. And we'll take those 15, 20 minutes and we'll build enough value in that to book ourselves a third appointment for sure. It can be Zoom. It could be over the phone. If you're going to do over the phone or Zoom, doesn't matter. Don't send them the report until they get on that call. Last appointment, book it a week out. Do 2 micro pulse checks between the second appointment and third appointment. If you're brave enough, if you've got the desire to, load their lips a little bit with what you're going to try and get that objection, the potential objections handled in those pulse checks that might come based on your proposal. Then go through and do your closing appointment. I sometimes reserve a 4th appointment for paperwork and transfers and stuff like that. It just depends on how long that 3rd appointment goes. If it's kind of quick and it goes quickly and I feel like they're not tired or dragging on or whatever, then I'll just reserve like an appointment the next day to go through the transfer process and everything. But I will get them to give me commitment that they want to move forward with the plan at that point. That last appointment is Zoom. You know, it's very hard to close deals without some sort of face or virtual touch. I've seen guys do it though. I know you guys probably have done some totally over the phone stuff as well. You guys seem to be pretty brilliant at the phone stuff. So I'm gonna, bow down to you guys in that, right? But I've done nothing but Zooms in my closing appointments. That's one thing. Anyway, not a huge deal though. So you move through it. That's our suggested strategy. If you have people fall off, retargeting folks is really important. What I think you'll find is these people don't have an intention to no-show you or ghost you, as the kids say. They just don't know. They don't want to let you down. And so they just don't say no. They still have their benefit question. They still don't have a good source to go get answers from. And so a lot of times in our confirmations, we'll kind of give them an out. Hey, it's Al. I'm looking forward to our appointment tomorrow. Hey, if you can't make it, let me know. We can reschedule you. And what you'll find is the yeses are going to say, yeah, I'll be there. I'll see you then. The no's will feel like they've gotten out and say, yeah, I'm going to need to reschedule. And at least you'll have a chance to reschedule them. If you're finding that within a 30-day time frame of the appointment date, you're not seeing at least 80% of your leads, of your appointments, you got a problem we can help with. Okay? If you're not hitting 80% show rate within 30 days of their appointment time, there's a problem and we can help you with it. Okay? That's our promise to you. So anyway, always communicate when people are no showing. If you have questions, all those things, we're here to help you. All right? And that's basically it. That's the summary of it. Ken, I'll hand it back to you.
Alex, absolutely amazing. We have our thing here, and it's always nice to, hear the second opinion and what's going on and what you're doing. I mean, you're doing some brilliant things over there, Alex.
Cool. Thank you very much.
We're very appreciative of that.
Ken, I think we should hire Alex.
Yeah.
Alex, you want a job?
You did.
We're buying lunch every
work for
day.
you guys. Yeah.
Well, he already has the right haircut, George.
Yeah.
A couple quick questions from my side, and then probably some others have some other questions. We were a little surprised on age, and we were thinking they're all going to be right around that 60, and learning that that's not the case.
Yeah.
What are our expectations there? What do you think we can see? Mostly
It'll be like a 50 mix. It'll be like a 50-50 blend of 59 and a half and olders and youngers than that. I think the important thing to think of is in a batch of 10 appointments, we're really just looking for one deal to come through, right? And so the idea is it's a niche market. You're going to have, like, part of the bane of being an educational vendor of the government is you got to help everyone. And so we've toyed with the idea of, hey, if they're sub 59 and a half, we just won't even offer them. But maybe part of the costs of doing a program like this is doing some of the pro bono work for the younger folks. And the nice thing is that we aren't getting constantly turned off by the government, because we will help anyone with their benefits question. So, maybe think of it this way. I try to think of it this way. If they're younger than 59 and a half, it's a great referral source. They're still in that part of their career where they're trying to climb the ladder and help somebody out. And so I'll help those people out. I'll give them a benefit analysis if they really need it. And I will ask for the referral, ask for opportunity to build a network within their organization. Be sure to do that. I mean, most of my referrals have come from sub 59.5-year-olds. Like I just had an opportunity last Monday to speak to a bunch of VA doctors. I mean, all of these ophthalmologists are all in a group across the country. I didn't even know, but they're all kind of compartmentalized by specialty in the VA. And so all of these VA ophthalmologists are all on this webinar because of a referral from a sub 59.5-year-old. Yeah. And so you just keep that in mind. But yeah, about half of them will be 59.5 in that go range. Sub 59.5, I'm going after spousal assets, past employer assets, stuff like that. But obviously, I'm just looking for 1 or 2 deals every time I have about 10 appointments. That's really all we need to stay in.
Alex, I received 2 leads so far. Richard, I know had 1. Maybe he's got a second one by now. And I
have 2
noticed
now.
that. Okay, how much is your second one in the TSP?
24,999.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, my question was that all of the original 3, they were up there in the $500,000 range, and
Wait a minute,
that's
you got
pretty
2 at
high.
500,000 range?
I'm sorry, say.
Never mind.
Yeah. So in our experience, we don't see those very often, but here with these 3 leads, we see them. And you have a really good network of attraction of these leads. Is your average, we'll say, bigger than what we think our average is, which is 150 to 250? Are yours higher? I mean, I'm only using an example of 3 that says, wow, these guys come up with $500,000 on a regular basis. So
over the last like decade or so, we've tracked it for maybe 5-6 years. It's always hovered around like that 210 mark, 210,000 average rollover. So it's not much different than what you're talking about. But yeah. Good batch though. Nice batch so far.
So Alex, going back to a little bit of what you said, what can we expect number wise in terms of, we pull out 10 leads, are we going to expect to sell half of those or 20%? What are you seeing there?
I would say more like this. Out of every batch of 10, you're going to roll over somewhere around 300 to 500,000 in assets. That's what you got to look at it as. Might come from 1, might come from 3, might come from 4. But, the idea should be, let's try and oversimplify this, because in the stats, I've got folks that, their type of sale is you're going to be all in with me or you're not going to work with me at all. I've got folks that will work with us and they're like, well, I just want to make them a client before I go and manage all of their assets for them. So I just get a small piece of their TSP. And so it just, depends on the advisor, but all of the advisors that know these benefits and are successful in the federal space, when they come to us, when they buy a batch of 10, they're closing somewhere 300 to 500,000 out of every batch of 10 appointments. And
over what period of time, Alex?
Within 60 days, I'd say,
right.
Within 60 days. If they stay on it and they keep working on them, then potentially, if we extend that out to like 120 days, something like that, it might actually be a little longer. We just don't track it from there.
Yeah.
So,
go ahead.
I'm just saying from a profitability standpoint, that's all you should ever look for in a marketing campaign, really. And you guys are large enough where you'll continue to cultivate these appointments, and continue to retarget them. And so it's not a matter of if they're going to do business with you, it's just when. And, you're with us. So if these folks ever try to come back through the funnel, let's say they fill out another link or something, it's going to end up on your plate. They cannot see another FRC. They can only see you guys. So there you
go. So I think kind of an aha moment for me from your discussion was we confirm our own appointments. the day after and then the day before. I mean, I really love that concept. I don't think we've ever done that, but makes a lot of sense.
I never did it either. I'd never known anybody to do that,
Yeah.
but I ran into a guy who's chairman's club member for American Equity for many, many years.
Yeah.
And he's a very, very talented sales guy. And he says, it's the best opportunity for me to catch them kind of off guard real quick with a quick question and confirm the appointment and get an objection out of the way. And, so if your plan is to present income and they're like, no, income's not important to me, I just want growth. Then the next day you can come in with the answers to the test. They already got the answers. Why wouldn't you want the answer key? So he was always searching for that answer key, as he said.
So we rarely use Zoom.
Yeah.
I would say 99% of our sales are totally over the phone.
Great.
Do you get objections on Zooms, or I mean, they're pretty familiar with it these days, I guess. So
They're familiar with it. I do, if you try and like the only time I ever get objections on the Zooms are for second appointments. That's why I kind of refrain that. It's like whatever their preference is fine. Would you rather do let's say I book that, I do the first appointment. I want to sit with them tomorrow real quick. They don't know me from Adam. Sometimes this is a little more of a personal thing to do with Zoom.
yeah.
And so, I say, hey, do you have a few minutes tomorrow? I'll give them the option. Okay, great. I'll see you then. Would you rather it be a Zoom so I can really walk you through the report, or it's just as easy for me to go over it on the phone if you'd rather me just do that? And they're like, oh yeah, phone will be fine. And so I just do the phone. But third appointments, if you got the skills to do it on the phone. I mean, you'll have way less friction. Not that I get a ton of friction on the Zooms by that point because they're pretty invested. They want to solve that problem. But anyway.
Well,
Depends on what they do also. They may not have access to a computer during their workday.
Yeah, a lot of postal folks don't even bother with it. They're not going to be able to do that. So.
Well, it still surprises me that we can move $500,000 of somebody's account and never even see them. Total over the phone. It's only been a few years that we've done that, and so it's
it wasn't possible for the longest time. Carriers wouldn't play ball, right?
Exactly. Absolutely right. So that's kind of my questions. Marty, Richard, George, anything?
No, I want to view this again. You recorded it, so if you could send it out to us, and I'd like to go through it again because there's some fine points there. It's not like just the outline. Alex, you hit a couple points that we've not done, and I thought, oh, that sounds pretty good, pretty sharp. If you can add to your repertoire, a little point here or there, that's fine tuning, and I like that.
Exactly, and I can see that a lot of this information is going to spill into our other lead system as well. We're missing some things, so it's we always love to learn. Anything, Richard?
No, I think it's great. I've often used Zoom, but I use it after hours and ask them to have, they want their spouse there. They don't have to take the information home and bring it back. And I'll tell you that does work. But
yeah, I agree. If you can have a spouse there and some of these crucial conversations, that's always helpful. Much more.
Yeah. Now I don't know who does the appointment setting for you.
It brings them together too. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Richard.
No, that's okay. That's all right. I was just going to give him some advice that maybe whoever assigns the appointments. We have a lot of good brokers. I'm not being egotistical, but if you put me at the top, you'll get a whole lot more production.
Love it.
No, just kidding. But anyway, no, I think Zoom is a great thing. And you did make some really good points. I know that would help me because, we typically say right away, we get you this free 14-page report and we send it out to them. We'll call you back and go over it. I think what you're suggesting is a whole lot better. So, we can learn from a lot of things here.
I've got a question, Alex. You've compile this million people list. Of course, 10, 20% are falling off every year.
Sure.
To retirement and termination. But, and I would presume there are any and all agencies, but are there any agencies that you do not have that in your bank? And in other words, do you have FBI? Do you have DEA? Do you have, some of these law enforcement guys?
We do. When it starts to branch over to active duty military, that's where it really kind of falls off.
Yeah.
There's a certain set of credentials, a certain set of teachings too on our part that we just don't teach on as far as military benefits go. Most of your agencies in the civilian side are going to be represented in our subscribership. How much of that agency we have is the question.
Yeah.
We've got like a good 90 some odd percentile of the VA, some 90 odd percentile of the postal union or the postal world, some 90 odd percentile of the like Social Security Administration and USDA. And then it starts to pitter off after that, where we might have like 60% of the like Customs and Border Patrol folks, maybe less than that even. We may have a few less of like the Parks Services departments, and anyway, yeah.
Well, to my knowledge, we've never had an FBI man, but I've worked a lot with the Postal Inspection Service. Love those guys, just absolutely love those guys. And I would imagine FBI be kind of the same personality and that sort of thing.
You've had an FBI before.
We've had FBI before.
Yeah.
Well, Bonnie, we're not talking about the people that came to the office.
Age that went on. Oh yeah.
Yeah, your arrest last week that's beside the point.
Yeah. Okay, Marty, anything you want to
just a couple quick. So one, how, like, when for the preset appointments, how often do they not answer? Do you ever get, I mean, what's the turnaround on that, and how does that work if they don't? If let's say I get a lead and I'm trying them, on the time scheduled, and it just doesn't happen. I can't get in contact with them.
Initial appointments, typically, I'd say maybe like 50%, maybe a little less, maybe 50 to 40% of the time they won't answer for that first appointment, right? So the idea is within 30 days, like the idea is not, like, first off, you need to do a really good job of confirming these appointments. There's the number one aid. The second you get that appointment, shoot them a message. Hey, it's Marty. I'm your federal retirement consultant. Looks like, we have an appointment booked on this day at this time. I look forward to chatting with you, right? Then after that, they might not respond, okay? If they don't respond, then my message, like the week of their appointment, would be something like, hey, it's Marty. I'm your federal retirement consultant. I'm looking forward to chatting with you on Thursday. If that can't work for you, let me know. We can see if we can reschedule you. Looking forward to chatting with you. I kind of give them that out to get out at that point. Like if they have an answer to this point, it's like, okay, that's weird. Let's see. Then they don't answer again. Then the day or the day before, I'm going to message them again. Hey, looking forward to chatting with you. If you had any particular questions, let me know. That sort of thing. This is the number I'll call from. I hit them with like a double text the day before too. I try to space it out by two messages. One message could be a bot, somebody messaging you twice. You kind of look at your pocket. You're like, who the hell is this? Who's this guy messaging me, blowing up my phone? So you kind of hit them with a next message. If you need to reschedule, let me know. My day's pretty buggered up tomorrow. I look forward to chatting with you. And then the day of, if they don't answer, I'll call them. And then I'll immediately text them right afterwards. So I'll give them like a 5-minute, hey, I'm going to call you in 5 minutes. My appointment's going well. I should be wrapped up in time. That was taught to me by a guy. He messages like 5 minutes before the appointment. Just a quick text message. Hey, I'm wrapping up a meeting real quick. I should be done in time for our call. If not, I'll be a couple minutes late. He's always going to be on time, but it preps them for like, oh yeah, no, that's good, I'll see you. Or they're like, yeah, don't call me. I don't have time for this today, you know? And say,
Right.
oh, okay, no problem. But if I get a pulse back, I'm like, no problem, right? So, but if they don't show you at that point, the idea is you got to stay on top of them for like the next 30 days.
Yeah.
And we have a whole method
Okay.
and we can teach you on that. If they don't show us, stay on top of them. Don't give up on them. They will come back to you. They're just busy. They know you're, you know, a guy that'll be there for them whenever. They don't want to. Eventually, you're going to annoy them enough to where they're going to respond to you one way or another.
Say something. And the preset. So once they make the appointment online, how quick does it get to the agent that purchased the lead?
You should get it within a few hours. I don't know the exact time frame, but you should get it within like a few hours if it's like late at night. If it's booked like right now during the day, you might get it within like an hour or so, within that 60 minutes or so, because there's an immediate confirmation that comes from us. So like the second they book the appointment, there's an immediate confirmation that comes that we received their appointment and that somebody will be reaching out to you. Then it needs to go through our queue system, which is an automated system that distributes these appointments out to every advisor that has a lead order in. And so it usually takes like within 60 minutes or so for those to get distributed. And then, you know, obviously that's why I say you reach out the second you can, because our message to them is, you know, hey, we got your message, your request for an appointment. We're working on it to get you assigned to an FRC that can handle your request.
Okay.
Alex, we have let's say I place an ongoing order. I want 10 leads going all the time.
Yeah.
Now, you make the appointment, you know my schedule, but how soon do you think I'll have 10 appointments? Or will these be drug out over a couple of weeks and then into my second order for 10 appointments?
Again, it all depends. Well, we typically won't, if you're on like a recurring order system, we won't allow you to put another recurring order in if you haven't completed your first order. It'd be very rare for us to go a whole month and not fulfill an order. Okay. So if you're like, hey, every month I want 10 appointments, then you're going to get your order filled in that month. But it all depends. Fulfillment of orders depends on your range or territory that you're willing to take appointments. If you say, hey, I'll take any appointment in any state in the union, you're going to get your order filled within a day, maybe less.
I will.
And then there you go. It'll never be an issue like that. But if you're like, hey, I only want Washington, Oregon, and California, it might take a week. It might take 2 weeks if you're just saying like, I just want Oregon. It might take 3 weeks if you say I just want Washington, you know, whatever. But that's the idea, is the bigger the territory, the easier it is to fulfill. Generally, if it's gone on for a couple weeks, we'll have weekly meetings on the queue just to like see, you know, hey, is everything getting fulfilled on time? You'll get a call from us saying, hey, you know, you guys need to open up your territory a little bit. We feel like we're not going to be able to fulfill this in time. You know, why wouldn't you want to take more states? Give me those reasons again, blah, blah, blah.
It sounds like you, in addition to being administration / sales management per se, that you're also a current producer.
Yeah, I think it comes as part of my role here is to have a connection with the field, you know,
And
to
be
understand,
Yeah.
what's going on.
Offhand, how many, do you do like 5 a week or 10 a week or?
No.
How many do you do?
I will work at this point, you know, for the last few months, I probably work like 3 or 4 appointments a month just to kind of help out with our retail practice. But in years past, I would be working 50 appointments a month, 30 appointments a month. It would be like all I would do, especially in times where potentially we were trying a new campaign style. We were trying to train up some new advisors in the program. I would end up jumping in and help train on those appointments, help refine a process. You know, we try some new copy out or something like that. And, you know, we want to see if the prospect is framed the right way, you know, and sometimes they'd come in like, you know, whatever. Wasn't a good appointment. So anyway.
Well, thank you. I mean, this has been.
Marty had
great.
one more question, I think. Marty,
No,
did you
I have one? But go ahead, Marty.
Boy, now I got to remember what it was. I
You were
I
asking
did have a
about
couple,
confirmation.
a couple more.
Marty's our oldest agent.
Here's my question.
Hanging around George too long.
So those that are your kind of your top producing agents that are using this program, how
Mhm.
many leads are you seeing them get on a monthly basis? What are they doing to make this?
Anywhere, all of the people that are doing well, like really well in this program, are working at least 30 appointments a month, at least. If they are doing, like in our top tier of producers, they might be working 100 appointments a month. You know, they'll get 100 appointments in, because again, they're like, yeah, I know there's going to be a certain amount, 20% of these are just not even going to show up. I know that another, 50% of those that show up might not be qualified for some reason. And I want to do 20 million a year in production. It's like, okay, well, then you're going to need that kind of volume.
Oh, the numbers.
Yeah, it's about numbers at that point. But the return is there for them. They know that too. It's like, I know that I'm going to close 1 out of every 10. And so the volume doesn't scare me. The investment doesn't scare me at that point. So
I like that. I like that.
What
Good.
the real key is obviously getting them on the phone and starting the process. You had mentioned, and everybody here is sold a lot. I'm not saying that we're novice, but you had mentioned you have a whole training session on what happens if you can't get them on the phone, or how to make sure you get them on. I think it'd be good if we could schedule that, Ken, quickly.
yeah,
Because we always learn something. Obviously, they do it better than most people.
yeah. I could have our head of our concierge team do a whole training with you guys. The concierge team does a lot of like the confirmations for our program and stuff. So, you have the opportunity to bring them in and help consult on your confirmation process and help you get people on the phone better and so on and so on. Anyway, that's a good opportunity. We could definitely schedule that.
Okay, fabulous. Well, I think we've probably used your time. Thank you very much, Alex.
No problem at all.
Great information. And I'm sure we will be in touch with many more questions. Thank you, sir.
I'm here. We're
Hey,
here.
thank you.
You guys have a good day.
Good to see all y'all. Bye-bye.
All right.
Bye.
Yeah.
Bye.